Stop solving the problem that you know people have and start solving the problem that they themselves know that they have and are actively trying to solve. Listen, one of the reasons that your business wasn't as successful in the last chapter in the last season as you would have wanted it to be is because of this one fact. It is because you are often solving the problem that people do have. You know that they have, you are the expert, right? But you have to solve the problem that they think they have, right? That they are actively trying to solve, right? And to be clear, I'm not saying that your business was not successful at all in the last chapter, right? Yes, you've made six figures. Yes, you had features and client wins and events and whatever else was beautiful about the last chapter, right? But I'm talking about sustainable success. I'm talking about success where people literally can't wait to get what you offer, right? Because let's be honest, people wanting whatever it is that you offer is the key to the next chapter being easier, which is what you want the next chapter to be. You want the pivot that you're making in your business to be easier, right? We want easier in the next chapter, right? But if you don't nail this one thing of solving the right problem, then the next chapter will yield much of the same fruit as the previous chapter. So in this episode, what I want to do is I want to help you avoid uh, 3 or 4 mistakes that are super common when it comes to choosing the problem that you solve and what you're focusing on as you pivot. Okay. So let me just say this. How many times have you thought, man, if I would have just known that, I would have done it? Right. I know myself. I've said that a million times, whether it's something small like, putting together a bookcase or whether it's putting together all the pieces of my brand, right? Like my entire body of work is designed to help you not have to say that so often, right? I'm a firm believer that you don't need help executing, right? Many of my clients are already executors. You need help knowing what to execute on, right? That's what we're going to focus on in this particular episode. Okay. So before we even jump into this, the first thing I want you to be able to realize is that there are 5 elements, right? All of which we walk through in the pivot school that you need to nail, right? When we start talking about solving the right problem, creating demand for your new offer, people wanting what you have, all of that comes down to these 5 things. Okay. I'm going to walk you through them on a high level. Now, I'm only going to focus on the problem in this episode, but I want you to at least know what these 5 are because they're essential, right? They're very nuanced. Okay. And they fit together. So, number 1, the problem that you solve, right? And each of these is very nuanced, right? Each of them is very different. Okay. Once we go through this, you'll have a better understanding of what I mean. So when we think about the problem, what we're talking about is the problem that they think they have, as well as the real problem that they have. All right. That's number 1. Number 2 is prognosis. Prognosis is just the solution. How are you eliminating the problem? Okay. Number 3 is path, right? This is your unique way of solving the problem. Lots of people can solve the same problem that your offer or your brand solves, but they don't solve it the way that you solve it. That's what path is all about. Then there is product, which is obvious. It's the offer, right? Whatever it is that you're selling. And then the last is the promise, right? This is the outcome that you are promoting. Let me give you an example of what I mean in order for you to see how you need to be clear about these elements as you pivot in order to create demand. Let's say you are going, right, and you're going to the doctor because you're having chest pain, right? And you are feeling like, you know what, I'm having a mild heart attack, or, right, maybe you've Googled some things and it has told you all of the different things that could be going on. So you're coming to the doctor with a symptom and likely at least with an idea of what you think your problem is. Okay. But then the doctor is going to tell you what the problem really is, right? Let's just say listen, maybe you have high blood pressure. Now, can high blood pressure cause chest pains? Girl, I don't know. I'm not no doctor. Maybe, maybe not. Okay. Just go with the example, right? So you go in with one problem, with one symptom, and then the doctor says, actually, no, that's not exactly the real problem. The real problem is A, B, and C, right? And then they're going to provide a solution, right? This is the prognosis. This is the solution. And they're going to say, all right, we're going to lower your cholesterol. I'm making it up, obviously. So let's say that they said the problem was your cholesterol was too high. Okay. And because high cholesterol can lead to A, B, and C, it is connected to your chest pains. Okay. I'm making it up. So they say, okay, our solution is to lower your cholesterol. And then they have their own path, right? Each doctor is going to prescribe something slightly different, right? Someone might say diet and exercise is the main way that they want you to lower your cholesterol. Someone else might want you to eliminate red meat, or some other doctor might want you to take medication. Again, the path is going to be different based on the doctor you're seeing, right? And then there is the offer, right? This is where they actually tell you everything that they want you to do. Okay, for the next 3 months, you're going to take this medication, you're going to reduce this certain kind of food, right? And then you're going to do, 2 times a week exercise, right? So it's very similar to the path, right? But the offer includes every single thing that the doctor would want you to do. Okay. And then the promise, it is eliminating all the chest pains that you're experiencing over the next 4 weeks and keeping them away forever. Right. That's an example of all 5 of those elements. Okay. Let's do another one so you'll fully wrap your mind around what you're really trying to communicate. So let's say let me do therapist. Okay, that's the easy one. Your girl's a therapist. Okay, so let's say someone comes to me and the problem is they can't focus. Right, they're anxious in social settings. Right, they're fidgety. Right, this is the problem that they're having, and because they've done some and seen historical, so for whatever reason, they're giving themselves the diagnosis of autism or bipolar or what's that your audience thinks they have, the problem that they are actively trying to solve. Okay. Even if you, as the expert, know, oh, that's not the real problem, right? Because that's where we get in trouble. We, as the experts, know what the root cause of the problem is, but that is not the problem that we want to be marketing. Okay. So in this case, they come to me with these symptoms, they've kind of diagnosed themselves. And I say, oh, actually, the real problem is PTSD. Right? Like these are all trauma responses, blah, 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 blah. See how their problem that they think versus the problem that I know is different, right? And then we go into the solution and we talk about, how trauma erodes your self-trust and changes how you see other people. Trauma and trust go hand in hand, meaning the more trauma you've had, the less trust you have of yourself and other people, right? So the solution has a lot to do with rebuilding self-trust. Right? The path, though, could be different based on the therapist. One person might do some CBT, another person might do EMDR, another person might be doing X. These are all modalities in the therapy world. Okay. I'm just trying to give you an example of what I mean by each of these. Because if you can nail these things, it'll change everything. Okay. So that offer might be 12 weeks of, one on one therapy for 45 minutes, right? That's the offer. And then the promise is to see a minimum of a 50% reduction in your symptoms of anxiety and focus. Okay. Let's do the one. This is the last example I'll give because I think it will help you understand what you need to be clear about even more. So I'm going to do it with my current brand, right? So this is all about pivoting. So let's say typically the problem that clients think have when they punch you on the opening has something to do with lack of clarity or lack of direction, right? And typically when they're, trying to figure out how they're naming the problem is they're basically just doing a bunch of stuff, right? They're executing, they're posting on social, they're consuming content, they're joining, smaller programs because they're basically doing a bunch of stuff to try to get clear. Right now, I know that the problem is a lack of strategy, is a lack of design, right? But that's not what they would say, right? And so then the solution is being able to, excuse me. So the solution is basically understanding design and being able to design like an architect, right? Most of the time, what people are doing is they're trying to put the walls up and the electric and the water and all the things to the house before the architect has even designed the blueprints. Okay. So that's the solution. The path, right, is basically psychology based, right? That's one of the things that I bring to the table is having a psychology background and being able to tie that to branding, which is all of the design stuff. I won't get into that now because that's not the point. I'm just giving you some examples, right, of how I might answer some of these questions for my own brand. Okay. Then the offer, right? Pivot School is a 12-week program to help you clarify every single element of your brand, all right? What you're offering, what your messaging is, excuse me, what your pricing is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? And then the promise is to walk away with a personalized pivot plan, right? Which is what you can build off of for the next decade. Again, imagine you were building a house, right? You'd start with the architect would lay out the plans, and then those in construction would use that to build the house, right? That's what your personalized pivot plan is, all the blueprints that an architect, right, would create. What I want you to be able to hear, right, is those 5 elements. Here's the mistake, though, that most people who are pivoting are making. Number one, they're not separating these 5 elements, right? They don't have clear answers to each of these things. Another one is not understanding the multiple layers under each element, even if they can answer those 5 questions, not with a lot of nuance. That's another problem. Another mistake that I don't want you to make is not leading with the problem that uh, they know they have, right? Again, the goal is to lead with the problem that they know they have, not the problem that you know that they have. Right? Another one, which is even more nuanced, is I want you to not make the mistake of leading with the problem that they know they have, but they aren't actively trying to solve. Well, let me think. Let's say that, someone approached me about nutrition or health or losing weight. That is a problem that I have, right? So it's not that they're wrong, but it is not a problem that I'm actively trying to solve, and therefore I would not be buying your offer. Right? So we don't just want to solve the problem that they know they have, but they actually have to be actively looking to solve that problem. Okay, so avoid that mistake. Definitely do not lead with a problem they fundamentally disagree that they have. Sometimes I see this and they're like, you don't have this problem, you have this problem. And I'm like, I'm 100% sure I don't have that problem. And it's like, because they know the root, they're really trying to push the problem that is the root. And it's like, yeah, but that's not the way that you market. That's not, even if that's part of how you're going to, what you're going to include in the offer, how your offer is viewed, it is not how you communicate in your marketing. So do not lead with a problem that they fundamentally disagree that they have, even if you as the expert know that they have it. All of these things cause people to ignore you, right? All of these things cause people to find someone else. But when you communicate in a way that resonates with your people, guess what? They want what you have, which is what you need to happen as you're building this next or this new thing, right? We want to resonate with our ideal client, right? So let's just use yourself as an example, right? Think of the top problem that you're experiencing in any domain of your life. Right, so let's just say, let's use health as an example, since I just used that one on myself, right? Especially since if you're over 40, then health is definitely a problem. Your knees, your back, something is cracking over there. Okay, let's just use premenopause as an example because that's a current topic that many people in my client are talking about. Right, think about whatever health related problem, premenopausal problem. What problem do you think you have? Right? Like you could name some symptoms that I'm having a sleep problem, or I'm having an energy problem, or I'm having a mood swing problem, whatever it might be. Right. And then you could get even more specific. well, I'm getting too much sleep, or I'm getting too little sleep, or I'm waking up in the middle of the night, or I'm having sweats, et cetera, et cetera. The better someone understands the problem that you think you have, the more likely you are to click, pay attention, notice, right? If you actually thought about a problem that you actively have right now, and then you saw a Facebook ad or a post on social or however you consume content, right? You saw that specific problem, right? As you were scrolling, guess what? You would stop. It would resonate. Why? Because it is tailored to you, right? So I say all of this to say that when you are pivoting, these are the elements to clarify for your next chapter, right? And here's a great test. Look back at the last 3 or 4 things that you promoted. It could be free, it could be paid, right? Whatever it is that you've promoted, right? Go back and look. What problem are you promoting, and how does it align with your mission? Or how does it align or misalign with it? That's what I want you to think about. Because sometimes we think we're communicating well, but if you actually go back and look at the content that you're pushing in your emails, on social media, podcasts, whatever content, and ask yourself, well, what problem am I promoting in this content? Right? Oftentimes you begin to see the holes. Right? I want you to avoid the tendency to try to solve problems you think people have, and begin to solve the problems you know they have and are actively trying to solve. Right? And of course, you already know that if you need help, apply for the Pivot School. We cover all 5 of those elements and much, much more.